Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Sewanee Live Summer Orientation webinar. My name is Carter Brown. I work in the Office of Student Involvement here, so work work in all things area related to student engagement, really trying to plug in all students to what they're passionate about and helping them find their communities. So I'm going to be running kind of the tech today. There's two ways to ask questions during the webinar. One is in the chat portion. And then there's a Q&A section box you can also ask your questions in. And throughout the webinar, I'll be responding to questions and dropping some helpful links in to help you navigate and answer your questions. But we have a great webinar planned for y'all. And thank you so much for attending. I'm going to kick it off to Bess Turner to kind of lead the show and help facilitate the webinar. Thanks again for coming.
Well, hey, everybody, welcome. As Carter said, my name is Bess Turner. I serve as Director of Parent Philanthropy and Parent Engagement, and I'm also the parent of a recent Sewanee grad and a rising sophomore. So this time last year, I was in your shoes. My daughter Ellie is a member of the class of 2028. So today, as Carter said, we're going to talk about life at Sewanee. We're going to talk about residential life, student life, dining, and food, which is so important to our students, as we know. We're going to talk about safety, hear from someone from the Sewanee Police Department, and then also hear from some Sewanee parents and some who are also parents of students at other colleges. So hopefully this will be helpful. And as he said, you can post questions in the Q&A and in the chat. So I am going to go ahead and pass it on to our Director of Residential Life, Alicia Cooper, and ask her to take it away.
Hello and good afternoon. Hope you all are doing well. Let me just share my screen really fast with you all, and we will jump in and get started. And so we're super excited to have you all here today and just have a chance to talk a little bit about residential life and the things that we see, and I think might be important information for you all to know as we go into the next year. So let's kick it off, or will that work? There we go. So first, I'm just going to kick it off with our staff members, our professional staff members. You have myself, which my name is Alicia Cooper once again. I have been at Sewanee since last August, so August of 24. And then moving along, we have Becca Yates, who is our interim operations coordinator and administrative assistant. And in Becca's role, she is our go-to person for our StarRez, which is our housing platform system, where your students can see their housing assignments and operations from that standpoint, as well as helping with the students' account. So if there's a billing question or anything like that, Becca is one of your go-to people. Next, we have Allie and Nick. Allie and Nick are two of our area coordinators. And our area coordinators, they are our front lines professional staff members who are able to help your students with whatever they might have questions about in the residential halls, outside of the residential halls, and being that resource to students to be able to say, like, hey, we're here to help you for anything and any concerns that you might have. And so with that being said, being able to point students to other campus resources that you will hear from today, like dining services, or our campus partners with SAS, so student accessibility services, and just different things across campus to make sure that they feel welcome and belong here at Sewanee, and being able to make sure that they are getting whatever they need from their experience here at Sewanee. Then I would love to talk about our proctors. Proctors are what we call, or they're proctors here, but at most schools you might know them as resident assistants, so RAs. Our proctors are our residential life student leaders. The proctors know just as much as anyone else as our professional staff members on campus. So hence why we probably still call them professional staff members. But these student leaders are able to help your students in the halls. They live in the halls. They are there to help your students say, hey, I have a concern and a question. I feel comfortable coming to one of my peers with that and being able to be a resource to those students and saying like, hey, this is how I have done it as a student in the past. And this is your correct resource when you have questions of like, where's the post office? Where do I go to get tutoring on campus? Our proctors in the halls are able to help them with that, as well as learning how to live with each other. So proctors are very well trained when it comes to helping students navigate those conversations with new people that they don't know, or maybe people they know. Being able to say like, hey, I have a disagreement with my roommate about who drank the last Coca-Cola in the fridge, and being able to help them navigate those conversations. And if not, giving them to the resources like the professional staff members, myself, the area coordinators, and Becca to be able to help them with those conflicts that they might have. Here I have a quote, and it's one of the main things that we quote here in residential life, and for short, we say EQB. And this living together and living in community and reminding students that behold how good and joyful a thing is for kinders to dwell together in unity. And so being able to guide that into our principles and what we do in residential life is one of our main focus. So a little bit about the residential halls. So here listed are the residential halls where most first year students will be living this next coming up year. And so on our website, on our webpage, and I will put this into the chat here soon after I'm done presenting, you will be able to find important information about the residential halls that your students might be living in. Our anticipation is to have the housing assignments out here soon, if not no later than July the 18th, but we want to have them out as soon as possible. So cross our fingers, or hopefully that will be sooner than later. But once you find out what residential hall your student will be in, you will be able to go onto the website and see those dimensions and some of the unique things about the halls that students live in, and they might have been placed in for this next coming up year. As I mentioned before, is our proctors, and our proctors live in a hall, and each hall has anywhere between 2 to 5 proctors in the halls that will be able to help your students as they navigate their post-secondary education journey. And then, so some of the most important things that we should look at and consider for incoming students that are connected to residential life, but not all the way there in residential life, and I think is important for our incoming students, would be like vehicle and bike registration. Today you will be able to talk with our Sewanee Police Department, and they will most likely mention this information. But Residential Life will be sending out an email soon that includes the housing assignments. And on that email, we will also talk about the vehicle registration. And we just want your student to be prepared when they come in. So making sure that they check out that email all the way through where they can prepare to register their vehicles before they arrive on campus. The next most important thing is what to bring. So as you all know, your students are coming away to college, and for some of you all, it's your first student leaving, and for others, it's like, oh no, we've sent others off to school. What to bring is very strategic and something that you should think about. You don't want to leave things behind, like your XL twin loan sheets. Remember the XL part. You can bring twin loan, but we don't want the sheets to pop off while your students are sleeping. So make sure you get the XL. With that being said, being able to look at the what to bring sheet on our residential life page, which will also be in the email that will be coming out soon, you will know what to bring and what not to bring when arriving here in August. And so we want students to be able to see and then communicate with their roommates of, hey, do I want to bring the microwave and you bring the fridge, or what does that look like? To where they can maximize and be efficient with the space that they have in their room. Also on that webpage and in that email, you will find a link to our residential life policies. It is definitely a lot of policies and it's written out and very strategic, but these policies are to basically just keep our residential halls safe, but making sure that students are also feeling that like, hey, I'm knowledgeable and I know what I can and cannot bring. Like a wonderful question I got a couple minutes ago is, are air fryers allowed? And so being able to see that and know that As of right now, air fryers are not allowed, but we are looking into finding a way to where we can allow air fryers and it's not a fire safety concern for us. So being able to look at those residential life policies. Next is also making sure that they turn in their picture for their student ID. And so in the same email that I keep missing, I promise you we're going to get it out soon. But we will also have information about your student completing and submitting their photo for their student ID that they will get on their first day here on campus. And so we want students to be able to be prepared and say like, hey, I already have my picture taken. I can't wait to get my student ID card. I know for me personally, that was a major moment in my undergrad career to the point I still have mine and I carry it with me everywhere I go. And so it's definitely something that we want your students to be excited about and be ahead of the program before they arrive here on campus. Next, we're going to actually talk about move-in day. So as you all are even thinking about it, before you know it, it is going to be August 21st and August 23rd. And so August is right around the corner. And so I do want to provide this information that will be in the email that will come out soon. But our FYE, so first year experience programs, as well as pre, will be moving in on Thursday, August the 21st, from 8:30 to 1:30 p.m. And these students will be moving into a centralized location, which will be at the Bishop's Commons line. If it rains, our rain location is still the Bishop Commons. We're just going to move our party inside. This year, we're happy to bring back a centralized move-in. So if your student has any holes or have not completed any items that they need to complete before moving in and getting their keys, they don't have to go anywhere else on campus at that moment to get those concerns resolved. They can do it just right there. We're going to have a lot of our campus partners there from financial aid, student accounts, as well as Sewanee Police Department there with the stickers because your student verified, I'm not verified, but your student registered their vehicle way before they even got here. So we're super excited about that. And we're just going to have a big party and prepare for those students. And so students who are not participating in FYE or pre, they will be moving in on Saturday, August the 23rd, 8:30 to 1:30 p.m. During move-in, students will have a 30-minute time slot to pick when they would like to arrive on campus and pick up their key. We ask that students fill out this time slot and picking a spot to come move in and pick up their key at the Bishop Commons on either day, depending on which day they are arriving for their program. On this day, when they pick that time slot, it's for 30 minutes, but that's just to pick up your key. Then you will go to your location of your first year housing assignment and we will help you move in. So we're going to have move-in volunteers and we're super excited to have that and for students to be able to have someone else carry those heavy boxes and those mini fridges up to their rooms. And so they don't have to get into practice before school even starts off. And so we're super excited about that program and being able to have a big move-in party. And so with that being said, your student does not have to move in within 30 minutes. They only need to pick up their key within those 30 minutes, and we just want to be able to control traffic. And so they will have more information in the email that says like, hey, this is how you sign up for your move-in time slot. And we want you to know like, hey, we're here to support you. Make sure we have enough movers available at each residential hall for our first year students moving into those first year buildings. And then, and when it comes to moving, we also want to get some tips and also if you all have any questions, being able to answer, but tips of how you can help your students prepare for moving. So if your student did not go through first year roommate selection, they were given a random roommate based off of the questions that they answered in the housing application. With your students giving honest answers, we were able to pair them with someone who has similar living arrangements as they would have, not all the way the same. And with that being said, when they're not always the same, setting expectation of what it looks like to live with a new person and starting out on this experience and this journey of being able to live with people who have differences from you. One of the best things that I did in my undergrad experience was also living with a roommate who was random. I did not know Takara from anywhere, but I took those questionnaires on my housing application series, and we both lived together in the same room and still are friends today. And this has been more than 10 years ago. And so with that being said, that is one of the best things I've done. And being able to get that value of living with someone who has different values as well as different backgrounds than I had. And being able to learn how to live together in that community, as I mentioned earlier, the EQB. And so you as a parent being able to help your student set that expectation, definitely if the person is used to living with siblings or have never lived with siblings, and what does that look like in bringing in that experience? Also encouraging them to reach out to their new roommate, even if they already know that roommate, right? Starting that conversation on what does it look like to live together. I know for myself, if I ever lived with my best friend, I would still have questions before I moved in with my best friend. So being able to reach out to that person, get to know them, and as well as jumping into the question about what do we bring. We have reviewed the Res Life policies of what we can and cannot bring. And so how do we pack strategically? And like I said, one person brings the mini fridge and the other person brings the microwave. Or how do we say like, hey, we only need one rug in the room? So what does that look like? And being able to communicate that. And like I said, being able to maximize efficiently when it comes to the room. And like I mentioned, housing assignments, that date is incorrect, so I'm so sorry, but housing assignments should come out no later than July the 18th of 2025. Um, and I think that's all the questions I mean, all the information I have. But
Hey,
before
Alicia,
I
there were a
jump,
couple questions in the chat. Can I
yeah,
can I ask those to you? So several people were asking that they felt like some people had already, or they know that some people had already received their housing assignments, but others have not. Can you speak to that?
yeah. So with that being said, our housing assignments for first year students, when we were working on our housing assignments for those students, some students were able to see them before we were able to take them down. And so if someone was a first year student and they jumped on and seen those assignments before we released them, that assignment may have changed by now, but we have taken off that aspect to where students cannot see them. And so with that being said, those official housing assignments have not been released, but we're hoping to get them out this week, if not no later than July the 18th, which was communicated in their first year program checklist.
Okay, so if they've seen them, they may or may not be correct, but
Yes,
don't
yes,
count on it until you get the official word
yes,
coming soon.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
And then can you speak to, there's some transfer students. How does the roommate selection process work for transfer students?
Yes. So transfer students will still complete the same housing application and answer the same questionnaires. And then depending on their age and what year they're transferring in. So if they are a transfer student, but within their first or sophomore year, we will most likely still pair them with a first year student. And if not, we will pair them with a transfer upperclassman. And if not that, they will be paired with a returning student who did not select a room during room selection this past spring.
Okay, okay. And then somebody was saying that their son was unable to access the site for housing.
Okay.
Is that what does he need to do?
Yeah. So what I would do is for that one, I will answer that one in the chat aside and shoot you the correct information where they can go and get onto our housing platform and they can complete that information.
Okay. There's just a couple more. What about a toaster or toaster oven? I think that we can probably answer that. Carter can probably send the list of what you can and cannot bring.
Yeah, yeah.
But
But no toasters or toaster ovens just because it's an open scroll. And so right now with anything that can get hot and we can see it, we're not able to have those in the halls because it's a fire hazard. But we're gonna try to find a way. But I will say toasters and toaster oven were even not prohibited when I was in undergrad. So
Yeah.
That one won't change for a while.
Probably not. And then I get a lot of questions about this. If a student is doing pre, when should the parents arrive to help with move-in? And do they still come on August 23rd? How does that work? I mean, I can speak to this a little bit because I get it all the time. There's really not a perfectly right answer. I can say that when students come on the 21st, they're not going to have a ton of time to really do all the moving in, settling in, fluffing because they're kind of going to be swept right away to activities. So, sometimes I'll tell parents, let them come on the 21st and then you come on the 23rd because the 23rd is when we will have a full parent orientation and we'll have a welcome party for all new families hosted by the Parents Council. So that's kind of where you have a little bit more time on that day and it's not so rushed. But if it works for your family to come on the 21st, do that. If it works and you can come and stay a few days, do that. So there's really not a right or wrong answer. I know that's not always what everybody wants to hear, but they don't have a ton of time on the 21st. Do you have anything to add to that, or does that sound right to you?
No, no, I think you answered that very well.
Okay. Okay.
I won't go into deeper about that, but it's really up to you and when you want to be able to be here with your student and see them off. And so if you want to come on the 21st and then have a hotel or rent a house until the 23rd, that is also an option. Book now. I say that for sure. But yeah, it's really up to you and what you feel comfortable and what you and your student decide. I think that's a major part too. I know I loved having my mom there when I moved in early, and then on orientation day she wasn't there, but we made it through. So it's really just up to you.
It's up to you. And I mean, it's fun to be there on the 23rd, but if you can't, it is not the end of the world. And as we know, family weekend is just a few short weeks later. So you'll be right back. And then I can address students who are moving into on the 21st. You are moving into your room that will be your room for the year. So it's not like you move into one room and then get moved again. So once you get your assignment and you move in on the 21st, that is it. So that's your room for the year. And move in for international students, how does that differ?
Yeah, so for international students, they will receive communications from our Global Citizenship Office. And so those students, if they need to arrive early, that program actually has a early arrival date. And that will be communicated from that office. But we will make sure that those students get those keys and they get into their rooms early, and they move into their fall assignment. We are very big about moving students into those fall assignments. We don't want people to move more than once.
Awesome. Okay, well, I think we should probably we'll have time at the end for
Yeah,
more
and I'll type
questions.
some in
And
the
we can
chat too.
absolutely. Okay, well, we're going to move on to Caroline Thompson.
Hi, you guys. Welcome. We're so glad to have you as part of the Sewanee family. I'm Caroline Thompson. I'm the Associate Director of Dining here at Sewanee. And I promise we will feed your children. There are lots of options around campus. We have a unlimited meal program. So even the hungriest of the hungry will have 13 hours a day of unlimited access to McClurg. So we have one meal plan. You don't need to sign up for it. You're already, as part of your intake, it's already happening. That includes, like I said, 13 hours a day, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. at McClurg. And they can come in and get a cup of coffee in their to go, like in their to go mug. They can grab an apple. They can have pizza. They can eat breakfast, come back for second breakfast if they're a hobbit, like whatever. There are a lot of options in the dining hall. We have all kinds of stations to help, kind of break the monotony up. So kind of a home style station, which always has some kind of two different kinds of meat proteins, a starch, two veggies. We have a pasta station, a grill station, pizza. We have a deli where you can have sandwiches made to order. We have a lovely, like large salad bar. There's a waffle maker. You can make waffles. We have toasters and lots of bread that they can make toast and put Nutella on it or peanut butter or jam, whatever. We have a really vibrant vegan station. It's a growing popularity because of growing popularity. We also, let's see, a seafood station, which is only fish at the moment, no shellfish in case you're have any allergies because of some students that we have right now. That's Monday through Friday. And then we also have just like lots of cereal and things like that that they can come and get a bowl, grab and go, hang out with their friends. McClurg is definitely a social place. And in orientation, they don't need to worry about not having someone to sit with at first. Their orientation leader is really going to put a lot of effort into making sure, like, hey, I'm headed to dinner. And do you meet me here in 10 minutes and we'll all sit together. Um, there are lots of different places in McClurg to sit, some like banquettes by a window. Upstairs is a little quieter. There are the large tables a lot of the teams will sit at, things like that. We also have an allergen-free station. It's free of the big nine, and also any other allergies that we or allergens that we need to remove based on our student population. So let me pull up my screen real quick. Sorry, give me just a second. So this is our website. It's dining.sewanee.edu. Maybe if Carter, you don't mind putting that in the chat real quick. But it's a great place to find a lot of information and contact information for me and my colleagues who are happy to answer. We're all university employees, so we're not a big contract company. We, work and live here and really love to have the students drive what we serve and things like that. If your student has an allergy, you can see a link here. There's also it goes to student accessibility services. We do not guarantee an allergen-free facility, but we go to great lengths and a lot of training with our staff to make a safe place for students that are nut-free, egg-free, all that sort of stuff. And you can see our kind of our definitions here. And then right here, you can see you can start a dining accommodation request right here. If you need religious dietary accommodations, you can contact our Amanda Gott, who's an awesome chaplain in the chaplain's office. If you're interested in seeing what we have on the menus, you can see all of our locations, but McClurg menus, they get a little into the clip art. Our staff are really excited about decorating for holidays. But you can kind of get an idea. It's a little more pared down in the summer, so you can expect a few more options when the students are in town. But we still have a lot of conferences and camps right now, so we're doing a lot. But you can look, and we update the menus a couple hours before each meal period. And that's because we want to make sure that the dietary restriction and labeling is correct. We want to make sure that we're labeling everything in case we have a different product or something like that. So in addition to the unlimited meal plan, your students will also get $175 each semester, and it will be added to their ID card, and they can swipe it and use it at Sterling's, at Cup and Gown, in the library, Beale Commons Cafe, and at the pub. And there's also some downtown partners in Sewanee Village where you can go and get Blue Chair, things like that. They tend to run through their money pretty fast, I will just say, but just because it's like free money. And they gives them they can get a matcha, or they can, it's just a special treat. If you'd like to add more money to their account, hit this little red button and nope. hit the red button on this page, and you'll see domain dollars. So you can add money to their account if you want to. You don't have to. They can only spend it on food. So if it's a way to, like, if you'd rather them not use Venmo and just have a little more control about what they're getting. But it tells you where they're all accepted and how to check their balance, that sort of thing. The other things, they can always give feedback. I read all of the feedback forms and send them out to whoever whoever needs to answer them, my colleagues, and we really make the effort to have a personal relationship with the students, and we change our menus based on their requests. We love getting recipes from home. You can always send them our way, and we'll try to make them. We've had a lot, actually, some of the recipes have kind of turned out to be favorites. So we really enjoy trying to make them feel at home. You can, if your child gets sick, they are living in a kind of a cesspool of with a lot of people in one spot. They can request a sick meal form. So they can either come and get it themselves, or ideally a friend, or maybe asking a proctor, something like that, to come and get them. And they can fill up a to-go box and take food to go when they're not feeling well, because we know that needs to happen. Let me, that's all I have for right now. I'm going to pass it to Justin in the police department, and then I'll work on answering, because I've seen on the corner of my screen, you've asked some questions, and I'll try to answer some of them. So thanks.
Good afternoon. My camera is on the fritz, so I apologize for that. Is everybody able to hear me okay?
We can hear you.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Again, my name is Justin Smith. I'm a night shift captain with the Sewanee Police Department. I've been with the department for a little over 5 years now. We are a full-time commissioned police department. We're on call and on patrol 24/7, so we're always out there. So student safety is obviously always our top priority, and we are constantly working to improve it. The campus is equipped with security cameras in academic buildings and around key locations, and we're currently evaluating where more can be added. We've increased lighting in darker areas of the campus, and we always welcome feedback from the students and staff on any areas that need better illumination. Another powerful tool that we have with our department is our Live Safe app, which allows students to communicate with our 24/7 dispatch center as they walk across campus, request help, or report or need to report any concerns. Again, we are fully commissioned. We have at least 2 officers and 1 dispatch on duty at all times. And we have a dedicated investigator who handles any serious cases, such as thefts, assaults, and things of that nature. That's all I've got for my introduction. I'll take any other questions if there are any.
I haven't seen any questions come through for you yet, but I'm sure we might get some in the chat, so we'll keep an eye on that.
Okay.
If there happen to be any. Why don't we go ahead and turn to the parent panel, and then we can circle back at the end and stay back a little after if folks have other questions that they want to continue to add to the chat.
Sure.
So I'm going to introduce 3 Sewanee parents who have students both at Sewanee and at other schools. So if I could get Sarah, Julie, and Tom to join us, turn their cameras on. There you come. And Caleb, you can turn yours off and remute yourself. There you go. Sarah, you're still on mute. Do you want to go ahead and how about you go ahead and introduce yourself and your Sewanee parent role and your other parent role?
So I'm Sarah Ritchie, and I have a son who graduated in 2024 and just had the most amazing experience here. And I have an incoming freshman. And I also have, they're both boys. And I also have a daughter who is a rising senior at another wonderful liberal arts college.
I don't see, did Julie and Tom drop out? I think they did.
No, I'm here.
There she is. Okay. I didn't see you anymore. Hi, Julie. Tell us who you are.
Hi, my name is Julie Powell. I'm a Sewanee graduate, and I have two daughters. We have an older daughter that'll be a freshman, or she'll be a senior at Colgate, and then we have a rising sophomore, um, who is a friend of Bess's daughter. And I also work for the university at the Babson Center.
Awesome. Thank you. Do we have Tom?
Yeah, I'm here. I can definitely see everybody on my screen. I don't know why I'm not popping up, but I'm Tom Powell, and so I'm with Julie, and so everything that she just said is true for me too, except for I am also a forestry professor, and Julie and I also love to host students at our homes where we get to do a little bit of extra parenting, I guess, of those students.
Awesome. And y'all do a great job with that. Well, I've just got a few questions that I'm going to ask, but certainly if other parents who are on the call have questions, just put those in the Q&A and I'll ask those to our panelists as well. But I'm just going to throw out a few questions and y'all can just decide who wants to answer what. But so packing is always a topic of much discussion, especially if this is your first student to send off to college. So is there anything that your student brought with them that they didn't need, or were things that they wish they had and they didn't have? I think, and let me just add on. I think I asked this question because I hear from a lot of parents that I think they have the impression that Sewanee is sort of in the middle of nowhere, and therefore they have to make sure that they send every possible thing that their child could ever need. And so if you could maybe just speak to that a little bit. Who wants to go?
I'll start. So I asked my daughter what she needed and didn't need. One thing she mentioned is students often feel like they need a microwave, and you might either look online to see if you can figure out where your child's room is in relation to the common room, because if your child is just a couple doors down from the common room, they'll have a microwave close by. I think most students do like to have a fridge, but that's something you can coordinate with the roommate on. Swanee's beds can be raised, and so you might bring a mallet so that if your child's bed is not high enough, people often bring bed risers, but my daughter found that if she raised her bed all the way up, there was plenty of room underneath without the risers. Sewanee does have cold weather and snow, but my daughter found that she didn't really want like a long coat. She found that like a soft or a shorter puffy jacket was okay. Another thing is class dress can be kind of an adjustment for students. So one idea is to maybe kind of get here and wait and see what other students wear and then buy some clothes once they're here. For instance, a lot of students wear Blundstones. If your student doesn't already have Blundstones, they might want to get a pair because those are great, like all weather shoes. But even though it gets cold and snowy, you don't necessarily need like the warmest, longest jacket, but waterproof shoes are definitely good.
That's really great advice. And I'm remembering that your daughter borrowed my daughter's mallet
Yes.
during moving. Anyway, so yeah, a mallet's a good thing to have. Sarah, did you want to add anything?
Okay, yes. I have some suggestions that I've gotten from students and my kids. So oftentimes girls like a headboard, and guys actually won't admit it, but they would like a headboard too. So their solution is to get one of those triangular body pillows because there's this space between the mattress and the bed frame that their pillows will kind of push down in there. So if you have like that little wedge that can go in between, that's very helpful. Um, Shower caddies and shower flip-flops are awesome things. A surge protector. A lot of people complained about the fluorescent lights. And so they said they like little lights, like maybe like a bed light by their, desk. And then a desk lamp. Yes. What else? You can't bring an air fryer, as I asked. Let's see. I sent my sons to Sewanee with a little medicine packet, like with Advil, or ibuprofen, their allergy medication, kind of like a first aid kit. And I also put in like liquid IV, emergency, those little Nooms electrolytes, because a lot of people are out, especially if you have an athlete here. I find that those are very helpful. And the other, just refreshments for your kids when you drop them off, so they, have what they need right when they get here to make them happy. And my son loved his party shirts.
Love it. We confused everybody with the mallets. So we just mean a rubber mallet. So basically, you've got these metal bed frames, and you to raise and lower. Sometimes it needs a little bump, right? So it's like a hammer, but got a rubber head on it. So that's what we mean by a mallet. It's not special for a bed or anything like that. It's just like a rubber mallet, like you would hammer, I don't know, a sign and like a real estate sign into the ground or something like that. Um, okay, so I'm gonna ask.
But can I just add a
Yeah,
couple of
sure. Sorry.
um,
Give your own.
so for me, having moved around a lot, my suggestion really is to kind of think about this phrase that less is more. Now, we all live here at Sewanee and are very comfortable, largely because if we order something from Amazon, it'll be here within 2 days, easy. Just like it'll probably get to your house. And so my suggestion is that if they aren't using it at home, then chances are they probably aren't going to be using it here, except for things like certainly like a bed headboard or something like that, is certainly a good tip. But otherwise, I encourage you all to take the approach of less is more. And then we have a wonderful store here called the Hospitality Shop, where students love to go to get repurposed stuff that maybe has been dropped off by the seniors last year because now it was something they used, but now they know that it'll be useful to an incoming student. And so you can know that we have a shop here that is stocked full of useful items for students that range from clothing items where they can get their party shirts, and then things also like plates and utensils and other things that students find useful.
That is a great point. They call it the Hop Shop, and it's open Tuesday and Thursday mornings and Saturdays. So it's great, and everything's super cheap. So it's a great option. Um, what about budgeting and money stuff? Did you all have conversations with your kids before they went off to school? How did you sort of approach how you were going to do the money thing?
Well, if I were to do it differently, I would have had a conversation. So with both of our children, we've sort of taken more kind of like a wait and see. Let's let you get there, see what your spending is like. I will say if your child in high school has had a job and is accustomed to having income coming in, they're going to come to Sewanee and continue to spend that amount of money, whether they have a job or not. So you need to talk with your student about, okay, are you getting a job? Even if you don't qualify for financial aid and work study, there's still lots of places where your student can get a job. Thinking about an allowance. When I was here in the 90s, I got $200 a month from my parents. And I really think now your child at Sewanee should be able to get by on $200 a month. Um, so I do think it's worth having a conversation about whether or not they're going to get a job, how much you're willing to give them, because even though we're in a remote area, they love Sonic and McDonald's, and they do spend a lot of money. So I think it's something to talk to your student about.
That's great. Sarah, Tom, do y'all have anything to add?
Can I just pipe in that we hire a lot
Yeah.
of students at all of our locations? So anyway, if they need a food job, if they've never done that before, we'll teach them. So
Both of mine work at Sterling.
yeah. Sorry.
That's great.
I've talked to a lot of students, and I don't think at Sewanee, I don't think they spend more than like $100 or $150 a month. So they really they don't eat out a lot. They eat a lot at McClurg because the food is so awesome, and that's where all their friends are. And so for that reason, my kids, they just basically worked in the summer and earned money for college.
Mhm.
And if they need a little help here and there, I give it to them.
I'm looking at some of the questions in the Q&A. They cannot get to Walmart by bike. There are 3 Walmarts close by, and they're all about 25 minutes away, in a car. There is Wi-Fi, all across campus. So that's not a problem. And then there is no DoorDash. Um, that is not something that we don't have Uber, we don't have DoorDash. You actually do, if you want to go to McDonald's or Sonic, you're getting in a car with a friend or you're driving. So the options that you can walk to are those that you've probably seen if you visited campus. So obviously McClurg is open all the time, and that's free, that's included. So but then there's Sterling's and the restaurants downtown. There's the pub, Cup and Gown, Beale Commons. So there's the campus places to eat, and then there's a few down in the Sewanee Village that students can walk to, but anything else. And then ATM, absolutely. We have an ATM in actually the basement of this building, and there might be another one. And then downtown, also Sewanee. So yes. So let me ask one more question, and then and biking to CVS and Piggly Wiggly, you could. There is a mountain goat trail that you could do. Most of the time they don't. But to downtown Sewanee you can. But the CVS and Piggly Wiggly are in Monteagle, so that's about 5 or 6 miles. So it kind of depends on your fitness level and how much they enjoy riding a bike. Um, Let me ask a question about how often you communicated with your student, or do you communicate with your student? Sort of that sweet spot between staying connected without hovering. Did you sort of set up, I've heard some families having a weekly call versus others sort of just having this constant text. So sort of how did you all approach that? Sarah, you want to go first?
Um, yeah, they just kind of called me if they needed money or something else. So I also work at Sewanee, so I did try to give them some space. But for my daughter, who is not here, yeah, I just kind of let them lead the way. And because there are going to be times when they want advice and they don't. So it was sporadic.
That's a great answer.
Yeah, and
And if
I'll
you
say that we followed kind of the same model that since we're on campus, I mean, it would be really easy for us to track her down and to kind of keep tabs on her. So instead, we just stood back and let her kind of dictate how much she wanted to engage with us. And I found that to be pretty useful. And so in my case, I really only saw her a couple of times per semester, and then now with texting being so ubiquitous, then there was kind of the constant texting back and forth, but as check-ins. But as far as phone conversations or getting together, I really only saw her a couple times a semester. And I know it was different for Julie, so I'll yield.
Well, and also with our older daughter who's out of state, like I started writing her letters and she would write me back. So you probably already have, say, like a family chat set up, but you might try something different, like writing letters and see if your children take to that. Because we all love getting mail, right? They love going to the SPO and picking up a letter or a package.
I love that.
And I'll also say, I mean, my approach is that, as part of them going off to college and really learning how to navigate in this world that we live in, I also wouldn't ask them about their grades and tests that they were taking. I would ask them more general questions like, how are you enjoying your classes? Which ones are you finding most rigorous? What do you find that is most rigorous about it? But I wouldn't really check in with them about their performances on it. It was more check-ins about their learning and their engagement with the material.
That's great. I'm going to ask one more question, and then we've got several questions for Alicia that I want to circle back to. But so social life, how did your students make friends? How did they find their people? Did any of them face roommate conflicts? I know that's a thing often at the beginning of freshman year, and if so, how are those resolved? So if anybody has a anything they want to add there.
Well, I would just encourage you to encourage your student to get involved in a lot of different things. Right at the beginning of the year, they'll get to know people in their dorm and people in their classes, in their activity fairs, and ways for them to get involved. There are also a lot of Rush events. Sewanee has Rush second semester for first year students. And sometimes students are not sure if they want to go through Rush or not, but I would say um, if they're at all interested, it's good for them to go to those Rush events. And I would say students shouldn't get their heart set on just one Greek organization. I would recommend they cast a really wide net and consider all the sororities or all the fraternities. But trying to having them get involved in at least a few things. But they really need to put themselves out there and be brave.
I'll add a little bit to this too. At student involvement, we have 90 registered student organizations on campus, and if there's not a org that they see, they can start one. So many different opportunities to get involved in, and to go off that one piece of advice I always give students when they come in and ask how, what are some tips to find your people, your community to really make Swanee feel like home. I always encourage them to stay on campus, even if you live, even if your home is not far from Sewanee. It's really, really important to stay and these when you're at home, you definitely can't meet people, right? So it's difficult and it's an adjustment for everybody, but really encourage your students to stay on campus and make those connections.
That's great. So, I think maybe if everybody wants to come back on the screen, if Alicia, there's several different questions. Some of them I see that you're answering in the Q&A, but some of them I think others might benefit from as well. So, a lot of questions here about measurements for the dorm room, what's going to fit, like what to bring, and the room for underbed storage. Do you have a dimension, or can you speak to that?
Yeah, so each hall is different. And so I would say we will start there. When those assignments come out, I think one of the best things that you can do, if you have questions, is reaching out to our office. So reaching out via our email at reslife at sewanee.edu, and I will put that in the chat before we leave today. That would be a great way for us to get those measurements for you. With that being said, I also have dropped in the chat the residential halls, and so there you will be able to find some dimensions, maybe not all the dimensions, but some dimensions for the residential halls that your student will be assigned to once that information is released. With that being said, it can 9 times out of 10, our students can get those beds up high. Definitely the bed raisers, we talked about that, as well as using the mallets to raise or lower the beds. And so if they don't have the bed risers, I would say that they have about a foot, 2 feet with the bed being able to be lifted for them to have under bed storage. And so they'll be able to do that. And so it really just depends on what hall that they are in. And then I did see the questions about television. Students can have televisions. We don't have separators in the halls. And so if they have a roommate, I would say that them and the roommate decide if they want to have one or two. I would suggest just one, since they're not really separate. And we don't have a size limit, but the rooms are not that big. So I probably would discourage a 85-inch, but I will say I have seen them in the halls here in Sewanee. And so students will bring them and they can fit, but they are only watching television. So it really just depends on what hall they are living in and the roommates and what does that look like. And then also being able to have those conversations with the roommates of expectations of the television and how loud it is and things like that. But being able to bring all those things will be great. And I also seen a question about how can we hang things up? Blue painter's tape. If you ever meet Robert from FM, he will tell you that that is his favorite. That is probably one of our safest options. But outside of that, using some putty would also work, but we do not suggest bringing the 3M command strips. They rip the paint off very easily. And so this year we're going to be super transparent about our damage charges, working with our campus partners from facilities maintenance. And so we're going to suggest that you and your students sit down and look at those that information that will be released in early August, to also think about, hey, should I bring those command strips? Which the answer is always no to command strips. But being able to look at that list and seeing what charges are typically charged for at the end of the school year when students move out, that causes a lot of damage. But when it comes to blue painter's tape as well as putty, one of the most important things is that you know that it's not really what you use to put it up, is how careful you are with taking it down. Because I have used command strips at my own home, and then they have come down easily, and then other times they have not. And so that's the reason why we discourage them 100%. So yeah, being able to do that. Yes, and we do have dresser drawers that go under the bed. And so you get two of those per student. Hopefully that answered that question. Are
Somebody had
there
asked
any?
about cell phone providers, and I would just say that, you know, we have a couple of towers here now, so we have pretty good reception. A lot of people have Verizon, a lot of people have AT&T. But now we with our used to be it was an issue, but it is a lot less of an issue now. So I don't know that it necessarily matters a whole lot. The Julie and Tom have got people really curious about the party shirt question. Do y'all want to say what a party shirt is?
So, well, the other thing, because this may come up for you, those of you that have T-Mobile, that's what Julie and I have, and we get coverage for T-Mobile as well.
Awesome.
A party shirt. So think like a Hawaiian shirt or a 70s shirt with butterfly collars, or just something that is sort of like a theme related shirt. You know, you might find your a Batman and Robin costume or something of that nature at the Hop Shop. It is not like I don't know, like an apron or a bib or something like that. It's more of a theme shirt.
It's funny because this is, and don't stress about this, but these students, they dress up a lot. There's a lot of dress up parties. My daughter showed up with a whole bin full of costumes. It's just sort of a thing. I don't know if it's a thing at other schools, but it's definitely a thing here. They definitely dress up. But it's okay because we have Amazon and the Hop Shop, so don't worry about it if they don't have a bin full of costumes. Um, and then there was a couple questions about early move-in, Alicia, of student athletes, um, parents coming to help, whether first of all, whether parents could help with when athletes move in, and will there be other volunteers when athletes come, like around the 15th or so?
Gotcha. Yeah, so we are planning for the early arrivals for our fall varsity sports. Parents, definitely please come help your students move in on those days that they are approved to move in early. I think a lot of those days are um August the 12th is our football, I know for sure. Then the 14th as well as the 16th. Please come and help those students move in. We will not have volunteers those days. We don't have a lot of students and a lot of faculty members back that early. And so with us not having them back that early as of right now, we will not. But I will suggest that your student reach out to their teammates and say, hey, you know it's moving day. Come and help us move in. Even though they might be moving in themselves, I know they probably would enjoy having someone there to or being able to give that experience to their teammates as well as first year students. And so yes, parents, please come and bring the family and help those students move in because it is definitely a great help on those days. And
Awesome.
then early arrivals, in that email that I keep talking about, I promise it's gonna come soon. But in that email, we're also talking about early arrivals. So just so you know, and you can talk to your student about the email will be kind of long. I kept saying the same thing when I kept writing the email. I was like, this is a lot of information. But the email will be long, but it will provide a lot of useful and helpful information. So please sit down with your student and review that email together to see if you all have any questions. And do not hesitate to reach out to our department. We will be glad to answer any questions or clarify anything that you might have when that email comes out. But like I said, it will have your housing assignment, and what does that look like and how you can go find it on your student housing portal. It will let you know about early arrivals. It will let you know about the move-in days and selecting a time slot to move in if you are not a fall athlete. And then us being able to move forward from there and also letting you know about our other campus partners when it comes to working with student accounts, financial aid, registering your vehicle, and being able to do those things. So definitely look out for that email. And we'll be glad to answer any questions once that email goes out. Like I said, my fingers are crossed that it's approved that I can go ahead and hit send. We try to get a couple people to look at it to make sure we haven't missed anything before we hit out, send to some very important information to welcome your students to Sewanee.
Well, on that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up, but we are going to stay on a little while after. I just want to be conscious of the time because it's 5:04. We are going to have another session like this next week for students. So it's a similar type deal, but it's geared more towards students rather than parents. We will have another parent webinar on July 23rd, and that is centered around wellness at Sewanee. So that's going to be Lee Collins, who runs our wellness center, which is counseling and psychological services, Fitwell Fitness, and the medical clinics. So she'll be on then with one of her nurse practitioners. So please tune back in for that. Obviously, there's parent and family orientation in person if you can make it on August 23rd. We'll hope you be there for that. And we look forward to seeing you all on campus. Thank you very much for being here. And we really look forward to meeting everyone in person. So if you need to leave, great. If you want to stay, we'll answer a few more questions. And let's see. So do you want to go through a few of these? The